NASA astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore have safely returned to Earth after spending over 9 months in space due to unexpected delays. Their spacecraft, SpaceX's Dragon, successfully splashed down off the coast of Florida at 3:27 a.m., marking the end of a mission that lasted 286 days. Let's now take a look at Captain Williams' distinguished life and career. An Indian-American astronaut and ISS commander, Sunita Williams was born on 19 September 1965 in Euclid, Ohio, although the retired U.S. Navy officer considers Needham, Massachusetts to be her hometown. She was born to Indian-American Deepak Pandya, known for his significant contributions to the understanding of cortical brain connectivity. Captain Williams is one of the most experienced spacewalkers with 9 spacewalks under her belt, the second most for a woman. Williams has spent a total of 62 hours and 6 minutes spacewalking, making her the record holder for the most hours spent during spacewalks by a woman and the 4th highest overall. Williams' father, Deepak Pandya, was born in Mehsana district of Gujarat, moving to the United States after obtaining his MD from Gujarat University. Her mother, Ursulin Pandya, was a Slovene American. Sunita Williams graduated from the Needham High School in Massachusetts in 1983, following which she completed her Bachelor's of Science degree in Physical Science from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1987. She was then commissioned and ensigned in the U.S. Navy in May 1987, going on to report to the Naval Air Training Command and training at the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School. By the time of her retirement from the Navy in 2017, Williams lodged more than 3,000 flight hours in over 30 different aircraft types. In 1998, while deployed on a Navy assault ship, the USS Saipan, Williams was selected by NASA for the astronaut program, beginning her astronaut candidate training at the Johnson Space Center in August of the same year. Captain Williams' first mission was on 9th December 2006 when she was launched to the International Space Station aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery to join the Expedition 14 crew. By 2007, Sunita had logged 29 hours and 17 minutes in 4 spacewalks, eclipsing the then record for the most spacewalk time by a woman back then. In a milestone feat, Sunita Williams ran the first marathon by any person in space on 16th of April 2007, registering the Boston Marathon and completing the distance in 4 hours and 24 minutes. She participated in the marathon again in 2008. Becoming the commander of the International Space Station on 17 September 2012, Sunita Williams was only the second woman to achieve this feat. Also in September 2012, she became the first person to do a triathlon in space using the International Space Station's own treadmill and stationary bike while doing weightlifting and resistance exercises to approximate swimming in microgravity. A practicing Hindu, Williams has often made an effort to honor her heritage, taking a copy of the Bhagavad Gita to the International Space Station in a first space mission in December 2006. In July 2012, Captain Williams went on to take the symbol of Om and a copy of the Upanishads to the ISS. The World Gujarati Society conferred another honor on Sunita Williams, awarding her the Sardar Patel Vishwa Pratibha Award, making her the first person of Indian descent who was not an Indian citizen to be presented with this award. Government of India, soon after her initial space missions, awarded her with the Padma Bhushan, India's 3rd highest civilian award in 2008. Ever mindful of her roots and heritage, Captain Williams has taken a samosa as well as a Carniolan sausage to space in celebration of her Indian and Slovenian heritage. Well, that's a little bit about Sunita Williams, who has now returned back to Earth after a grueling 9 months in space. What does this achievement truly mean? We take this conversation forward. I have with me Dr. Shauna Pandya. She's the first named female commercial Canadian astronaut and the fourth Indian origin female astronaut. She will be flying to space with the Virgin Galactic Delta class of spacecraft with the International Institute for Astronomical Sciences as early as 2026. Dr. Pandya was on the first crew to test a commercial spacesuit in zero gravity in 2015. Also with me on the broadcast is Mr. Dinesh Bhai Patel, village sarpanch of the Julasan area. We also have with us Ankita Jha, space scientist, and Rishita Sharma, also a space scientist. Dr. Sachin Bamba, founder and CMD of Space India, with us as well. Let me begin this conversation with Dr. Shona Pandya. Dr. Pandya, what really have been the big learnings for the entire space community in the past 9 months? Sunita Williams was sent to space for a short duration. However, the entire journey turned into a grueling almost 300 days in space. So what really have been the learnings?
I think at the mission level, it's really solidified what has been the core of planning for space all along, and that is be ready for plan A, but have plan B, C, D, all the way to Z up your sleeve, so you can be ready for contingencies, you can be ready for alternate happenings as they occur. And in this case, you know, it was really looking at all possible solutions, everything from taking the Boeing Starliner capsule back to coming back early, to sending up an extra SpaceX crew capsule, to finally changing out the Crew 9 rotation, sending up 2 astronauts, and then turning it into a regular duration ISS mission, in this case 9 months, and coming back home. And then from the astronaut side, just looking at the resilience it takes to be an astronaut, to be away from home for so long, that is pretty par for the course. As you've heard from Captain Williams' intro, she is an astronaut's astronaut. She's absolutely the person for this job. And so, you know, both at the individual level, both at the space agency and space mission planning level, you know, it's all about resilience. It's all about contingencies. And the Crew 9 mission completely exemplified that.
Dr. Pandya, at the same time, what do you think astronauts and people who are aspiring to be astronauts have now taken away from this entire mission, and especially the resilience that has been shown by Sunita Williams, by Butch Wilmore?
Absolutely. That's a great question. I think the two key takeaways here are both aptitude and attitude. So the aptitude, nobody questioned from the start. Looking at Butch and Sunny, you know, they're very, very accomplished. They know what they're doing, but the attitude of never, you know, when am I coming home? Am I there yet? It's always about the mission. It's always about integrating into the crew rotation, about focusing on the task at hand. And I think for anyone who wants to follow in their footsteps, learning to be both really good at what you do, but also doing it with a good attitude. Those are really two key takeaways.
And at the same time, Dr. Pandya, how do you think this entire mission has now shed light on how critical the private sector has become towards space exploration and the future of the space industry?
Yeah, I think the really key takeaway here is what has been kind of at the core of missions all along, and that is always having an escape vehicle, always having a ride home docked to the station. And so here, there was no point at which the astronauts were stuck or stranded in space. If they needed to evacuate, even before the Crew 9 capsule arrived, they could have come back on a contingency. It would have been less of a comfortable ride. They would have been riding under the cargo space in the Crew 8 capsule. But I think all of the planning that goes into this, looking at all of the what if scenarios, looking at all of the contingencies, and just being prepared, and then being ready, as we say, to adapt and overcome, that really came into fruition over the course of this now 9-month mission.
Dr. Pandya, you'll also be making your way into space, we believe, in 2026. So how's the preparation for that going?
You know, it's going really, really well. Right now, we are down selecting our science for our mission with Virgin Galactic as early as next year. And then we're getting back to our microgravity flights for some crew training and coordination in a few months' time. And I am so excited to get back to that.
What really is the regimen like? And like you said, that it's all about aptitude as well as attitude. So how is it that you're trained to really in a way, it's a leap of faith, right? And it was for Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore as well. Like I said, they'd gone for a short duration, but then that turned into 9 months, and there was a lot of uncertainty. So how is that training that takes place of the mind, which is most critical?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's just as relevant if you're dreaming of being an astronaut someday or if you're actively training for a mission. And you really have to believe in the end goal. You have to believe in the mission objectives. If you're starting off wanting to be an astronaut, you don't know what the outcome is going to be at the other end of that journey. And so you have to also love every step of that journey. If you want to be an engineer or a pilot or a doctor and get to space, you also have to love each one of those things. And then once you're training for a mission, you have to love every aspect of it. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of careful coordination and scheduling, but loving every step of the journey as well as the end goal is kind of key.
Dr. Pandey, before we let you go, how big of an inspiration is Sunita Williams to young girls out there, specifically young girls who are aspiring to become astronauts and who are aspiring to become space scientists?
Absolutely. She's an inspiration, I think, even to other astronauts like myself. You look at her career, you look at her track record,
Hello.
has truly set the bar high. And, for anyone who wants to be an astronaut, just looking at Sunita Williams' record and what she's achieved, she truly is an astronaut's astronaut. She embodies what it means to work hard, to excel, and to do it with grace and a great attitude.
Absolutely. And what really is it that you're also, sort of getting in terms of advice from family and friends? How's that been?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, it's always not viewing the race to space as a sprint, but a marathon, and keeping in mind that it's a long journey and keeping the end goal in mind, and then just being surrounded by really, really good people through friends and family who will, lift me up, and also tell me, honestly, when I need to hear it that I'm doing too much, and, also rein me in a little bit. So good people are key when you're going to space, whether it's through a space agency like NASA or through the commercial route.
Well, Dr. Sunita Pandey, thank you so much for joining us on Newsx, and we will, of course, hope to speak to you in the future as well as you inch closer towards making that journey into space. But once again, thank you for joining us with your thoughts on Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore making their way back to Earth finally. I also bring into the conversation Ankita Jha, space scientist. Ankita, I want to begin by asking you, how much of an inspiration has Sunita Williams been to a young scientist such as yourself?
Sunita Williams, we are celebrating her victory. Our nation, the entire world is celebrating her comeback to Earth. I believe she is an inspiration, not even to girls, but yeah, to every person, because it takes guts to be there for more than the decided period. She went in a space just for a week, and she just spent time more than 9 months there, and it is again very much we'll say very much pride moment for our nation, entire country. And the key takeaways that we can learn from her is her positive attitude, the faith she had in her organization. And I feel everyone is learning some of the things from her about the positive attitude, and how she's celebrating everything, even in space, with a smile, and everything is quite good, I would say.
Okay. Ankita, I also want to understand from you, if you can just explain to our viewers, I've introduced you as a space scientist, but if you could just tell us what exactly is it that you're currently working on, or what is it that you aspire to do? Are you also looking forward to perhaps becoming an astronaut yourself one day?
Yeah, I would say Sunita Williams as a kid never decided to be an astronaut, because initially she joined Navy, and after that she became pilot. She is a trained pilot, And then after the retirement, she decided she went through all the procedures, and in 1989 she joined NASA. So we never know what is coming next, but being an astronomer, maybe I'll plan it on someday. Maybe we never know what's coming next. Talking about what I do is I inspire so many students in so many schools related to astronomy. As a guest lecturer, I go there and I just brief them about astronomy, what do we have in space, about the celestial objects and things about the universe.
Okay, all right. Let me, on that note, also bring in Dr. Sachin Bhamba into the conversation. Dr. Sachin Bhamba, your first thoughts or your first message as far as Sunita Williams' return to space is concerned, return to Earth is concerned. Okay, I believe we have Rishita Sharma.
Yeah, hi.
Hi Rishita, if I want to understand from you as well, how big of an inspiration has Sunita Williams been to you?
Okay, so first of all, many congratulations to each and everyone for making the history. It's bringing back Sunita Williams, Bush Wilmore, and 2 other astronauts back to Earth. It was a very tough journey indeed, and her inspiration to all of us is remarkable. Let me just say this one quote that she has just said in one of the interview, that she said space is her happy place. Now, we can be inspired from someone who feels their job is their happy place. Now, if that being said, that only a 8-day stay, a 1-week stay in the space has turned into 9-month stay, more than 9 months, right? So if that tough task for her, that tough journey is still her happy place and she's still enjoying being so joyful around Diwali, she had posted a video wishing all of us. On Christmas, she had a video wishing all of us. Thanksgiving, she was celebrating each and everything over there, even by doing her job, even doing some researches, making the most fruitful of her time, and still inspiring all of us, making us all of sure that she is healthy over there and she is not in any danger. She is such a positive person with so much positive attitude, and I personally take a takeaway here is that whatever we are going to do or we are still doing, we should be so much passionate about it that it is our happy place.
Okay, all right. I'm going to request all our guests to stay on with us. My colleague Uday Pratap Singh has also had an exclusive conversation with Ritu Karidhal, scientist at ISRO. Listen in.
Well, at Raisina Dialogue 2025 with us, of course, senior scientist from ISRO, Ritu Karidhal ji. Thank you very much for speaking with us. A very important session, of course, on geopolitics of space. Hopefully, further space collaborations will happen as a result of this.
Yes. I mean, it's given a platform where we could discuss what is the current, the projects are going on in a collaborative mode and how it can be extended, because the space is a common heritage for all. So we have to work with that in mind, yes.
They appreciated the strides that India has made also.
Yes, because India has shown its, the cost-effective way of working and achieving a technically very challenging missions. So it is highly appreciated everywhere, yes.
Final question, there was good news, of course, for US, but also for Indian diaspora, because, Sunita Williams has touched down last night back on planet Earth. What would you say about this?
We are very happy seeing her in good health. She looks very happy. So we are also very happy seeing her back to Earth.
What kind of impact would this have had on her mental health, on her physical health?
I mean, what I understand, the astronauts are trained to stay long, and she has handled very well. So, very hats off to her.
Thank you very much. With journalist Dinesh Thakur, Uday Pratap Singh in Delhi, Newsx. Well, joining us now at Raisina Dialogue 2025 is Jessie Kate Shingler, member of the Lunar Open Board, United States of America. Thank you very much for speaking with us on Newsx.
Thanks for having me.
It was a very interesting session, of course, on the geopolitics of space. How did it go for you? What were the big, takeaways for this session for you?
I think, it's so interesting to see how much people are passionate about space. We have a lot of work to do in the space community, and there's a lot of tools out there that I think we're not reaching for. When we talk about space coordination, we're often talking about treaties only, but in fact, there's so many other opportunities for us to coordinate, and I think it's time for us to come to the table and actually, roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Great. I have to also ask you about, the strides that India has made as well. How do you react to that? From, of course, the, manned mission that's coming up, Gaganyaan, to also our mission to the moon, Chandrayaan-2, that just happened, the south side of the moon, in fact, which hasn't been explored. How do you see India's strides in this sector?
Yeah, I mean, India is a huge leader, and it's been really, really exciting to follow India's progress on this front. It has been it's been a big inspiration to us in our work, and I think that the specific role that India plays in the international community is really important. You have these two giant superpowers, the United States and China, who are, as well as Russia, three big superpowers who are not the best of friends. And then you have India that can really play a balancing role in terms of the international community. And so I think a lot of people are looking to India to kind of assert its position in terms of helping to balance some of the tensions in the international community.
What collaborations also could we possibly look at, between ISRO and possibly NASA, other, space agencies of the world as well? We've seen how European satellites have been sent by us in the recent past too.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I think a lot about it from a policy perspective. One of the lesser-known treaties associated with outer space is something called the Moon Treaty. And India is it's a treaty that is considered a failed treaty, and that it was only signed by, I forget how many states exactly, but not enough to come into force. But India is one of the few signatories of this treaty, and it was signed but never ratified. And it kind of begins to develop a framework for how we might do space resource utilization and coordination. And whether or not it's actually the Moon Treaty or something else, it certainly shows that India has an appetite for thinking ahead and being forward-looking about these issues. And so if India was interested in sort of stepping into a coordination role on some of these topics, I think that would be looked very highly upon.
Okay, final question then to you on Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore. They finally returned back to Earth. They were stuck, of course, in space for quite a while. I'm sure that's good news for you in the US. Also good news for us because she hails from India.
Oh, very exciting. Well, I think that a lot of people like to talk about how the astronauts were stuck in space. And, I don't know them personally, but I also know that for many people with that kind of inclination, it's also an adventure. They were on a grand adventure, and I'm sure that they knew that they didn't know what was about to come their way. And that's what space is all about, is being up for the adventure. And, I think they did a beautiful job in representing, just sort of like holding the potential and sticking with it. So I'm very grateful for them.
What kind of mental or physical impact could this have had on their health?
Well, I'm not an expert in that, but certainly you could imagine that the uncertainty associated with something like that from a psychological perspective is something that would play a role. Physically, of course, you have a lot of atrophy of muscle mass, bone density. These are things to consider. But also, I know that all of our astronauts train for these eventualities or these possibilities, and I'm sure they're well prepared, as well as being taken care of very well by a team here on the ground.
Thank you so much for taking time out and speaking with us.
Thank you. Cheers.
Journalist Dinesh Thakur, Uday Pratap Singh in Delhi, Newsx.
And on that note, we'll slip into a very quick break.